Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Take a look at the screen. Have you ever seen a disc graph that looks like this? And have you ever wondered what is the connection between how the D relates to the I style, how the I relates to the S, how the C relates to the I? Well, if you've ever wondered how they interact, well, in this video, I'm going to explain it to you in detail. Very exciting times ahead. Now, if you're joining me live, say hello. If you're joining me on the replay, type in replay so I know that you're watching. So in this video, what we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about factor relationships. What's the word? Factor relationships. And it's how each of the disc styles relate to one another. It's how the D relates to the I relates to the S, the I relates to the C, so on and so forth. And it's very important because it gives us some big insights into our clients' behaviors. So in this video, we're going to talk about factor relationships. And this is how each of the four disc styles relate to one another. Now, there's tendencies. In relating to one another, there's tendencies, and there's three tendencies. There are strong, moderate, and weak tendencies. Now, if there's a strong tendency, then there's going to be a score of plus 20. I'll show you how to calculate this in a moment. If there's a moderate tendency, there's going to be a score between 10 and 19. And if there's a weak tendency between each of these styles, then there's going to be a score that is less than 9. Now, when there's a score plus 20, what we know is the verbiage or the descriptive word of that disc style is going to be highly accurate. If it's a moderate score between 10 and 19, there's going to be a tendency towards those behaviors. And if there's a score of minus 9, then these words are not accurate and they won't be close at all to describe this person's behavior. So what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look at the tendencies between each of these styles. Now, when you look at the screen, you'll see under each of the factors, there's a score. Here, the D score is 62. The I is 98. The S is 52. And the C style is 16. And what we're going to use is we're going to use these numbers to calculate these tendencies. We're going to see if this is strong, moderate, or weak. And what this will give us an insight is into the descriptive words. So in the disc report, there's going to be descriptive words that describe this score. And it's going to tell us if these tendencies are strong, moderate, or weak. And it's going to show us how these factors interact with one another. Now, I know this is a little bit advanced for people starting out. However, over time, it's going to be very important because you'll start to make the connection. And when you make the connection, your client will think you're magnificent. Well, I already think you're magnificent. The client just has to see it, and then nothing can get in your way. So let's have a look here. There's 4 things that we need to do. First of all, we need to have a look at the core style. So is their core style D, I, S, or C? We then want to have a look at the factor relationships between each of the disc factors. We want to start to calculate the spread, and then we want to have a look at the tendencies. So let's take a look at our sample over here. What we can see here in terms of the factor, this person is more of a I style. So their highest score is going to be the I style. So their core style is I. See that? This is the core style. So step 1, we want to have a look at their core style. Secondly, we want to have a look at the factor relationships. So a factor relationship, what we do first of all is we have a look at the highest score, which is I, and then we start to draw lines to the lowest scores, the second lowest, and then the third lowest score. So the factor relationship is going to start here at I, and then we're going to have a look at how it relates to the IC style, the IS style, and the ID style. That's step one. Secondly, we also have the D style. The D style is the second highest score. So what we want to do next is we want to have a look at how it relates to the others. So we want to have a look at how the D relates to the C. We also want to have a look at how the D relates to the S. In addition, the third highest score is the S score. And what we want to do is we want to have a look at how the S style, let's get a new color, relates to the C style. So these are all the factors. So what I'm looking for here is I'm looking at the factor relationships. How the I relates to the C, the I relates to the S, how the I relates to the D. I then am going to have a look at how the D relates to the S, the D relates to the C, and finally how the S relates to the C. Now, I've got some calculations here and it's very, very simple. So what we want to do is we want to get our calculators out. So if you can do this together, I want you to get your calculator out and let's crunch the numbers together. So you can see my calculator on the screen. You've got that there. So simply what we want to do is we want to have a look at the scores. So let's have a look here. We can see that the I score is 98 and the C score is 16. So what we want to have a look at is we want to have a look at what's called the spread. So we put in the number 98, which is the score for the I style factor, and then we want to minus the C style factor. So we're going to minus 16. Now that's going to give us a spread of 82. We're then going to have a look at how the I style relates to the S. So we're going to type in 98 and we're going to minus 52. And we can see here that there's a spread of 46. We're then going to have a look at the spread between the I style, which is 98, and the D style, which is 62. So there's a spread of 36. So essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to do all of my calculations for my spreads. What is the spread difference between the I and C, the I and S, and the I and D score? I'll repeat that for the D, C, and the DS. I'll also continue that for the S and C style. And what that's going to give me is it's going to give me the spread, or essentially the gap, between the highest and the lowest score, the second highest and the second lowest scores, etc., etc. So once I've calculated my spread, I can understand the gap, and it can tell me what is the tendency, what is the relationship between these scores. Now, as I mentioned before, when it comes to the tendencies, if there's a score above 20, it's going to be a strong tendency, which means the verbiage, the descriptive words, are going to be highly accurate. If there's a moderate score here, 10 to 19 points, if that spread is 10 to 19, then there's going to be a tendency towards the behavior. And if it's -9, then these descriptive words won't be accurate at all, or essentially it'll be too close to call. So in advance, I've done the calculations and I've identified the spread, which leads me to doing a very simple overview of the tendency. The I and C style, there's going to be a strong tendency here with these verbiages and the descriptive words. The I and S, it's 46 points. It's going to be a strong tendency. The gap between I and D is 36 points. It's going to be a strong tendency. When it comes to the D and C style, it's 46. It's going to be a strong tendency. The D and S, it's going to be a weak tendency. And the S and C style, it's going to be a strong tendency. So what this leads to me now is having a look at the descriptive words for these styles. So here's what I want to do. I want to go to the descriptive words for the D style for this individual. So what we can do is we can have a look at where the red, the yellow, the green, and the blue boxes are. And we just want to choose 2 words out of there. You can choose any 2. What I like to do is I like to look at the client and figure it out for myself. Is this person assertive and competitive, competitive or determined, assertive and determined, assertive and self-reliant? Which of those 2 words am I going to choose? So essentially, you're going to choose 2 of these descriptive words from the word sketch. These are the words that you're going to work with for their point style. Now, I know for some of you, if you're watching this for the first time, it seems a little bit complex, a little bit overwhelming. That's okay. We've recorded this video so you can watch it over and over and again. Once you watch it, you apply it. Watch it and apply it. Watch it and you apply it. And after you've done this 10 or 11 times with other people, you'll quickly do this in your brain. You'll get your calculator out and you go bang, bang, bang. There's the numbers. Strong, bang, bang, bang. Weak tendency, bang, bang, bang. Moderate tendency. I just want you to practice. Remember, practice leads to perfection. But you've got to practice, first of all. So every master was once a disaster. Everything is hard before it's easy. So as I mentioned, I've had a look at the descriptive words. The descriptive word for the D style here, I've chosen as assertive and competitive. Can you see that there? For the I style, I've chosen emotional and enthusiastic. For the S style, I've chosen stable and steady. You can see those there. And for the C style, I've chosen fearless and defiant. And you can see those descriptive words. There we go. Just there. Fearless and defiant. So it's not that I'm making them up. I'm taking them directly from the client's report. Now, once I've done that, I want to start to create some interesting word combinations. So I'm going to take these descriptive words and I'm going to have a look at how they relate to the other styles. I'm going to have a look at how the I descriptive words relate to the C and the S and the D. And it's going to come up with some very interesting combinations. So this is what I've done in advance. The I and C style. The I and C style, it's going to be enthusiastic is going to be the descriptive word I've chosen for the I style, and fearless for the C style. The I style, I've chosen emotional, and the S style, I've chosen steady. The I style, I've chosen enthusiastic, and the D style, I've selected assertive. The D style, I've selected competitive, and the C style, defiant. The D style, I've selected assertive, and the S style, I've selected steady. For the S style, I've selected stable, and for the C style, I've selected fearless. Now, these are just words that I've chosen. You can choose any of your combination. That's what I've just chosen. That's just what made sense to me when I'm looking at my client's report. So I select the keywords, and then I'm going to review again. Now, because there's a significant gap here, then these words are going to have a very strong tendency. IC, IS, ID, DC, there's going to be a strong tendency here, which means that these words, the associated verbiage, enthusiastic, fearless, emotional, steady, enthusiastic, assertive, competitive, defiant, these words will tend to be highly accurate of the individual. We can see here, assertive and steady, the D and the S style, this is going to be a weak tendency. And so the verbiage probably won't be true for this individual. And then we have the S and the C style. Once again, it's strong tendency, and the descriptive words will be stable and fearless. Now, I know it's a lot of information. It's a lot of calculations. After you watch this a couple of times and you do it in practice, it will make more sense. If you watch this video and you don't apply it, you'll remain confused. But if you feel confused now and you do it 10 times with your partners, then that confusion will lead to clarity. That clarity will lead to certainty. You'll know what to do, and then you'll have the confidence to do it with your customer. And when you have the confidence to do it with your customer, the cash starts to flow. So these are my descriptive words. And what it means is that this relationship between the I and the C style, this enthusiastic approach to people with a fearless approach to details is going to really shine through. So what we're going to see in this person's behavior is this person's going to be really enthusiastic about their ideas. They've got a big idea. They're willing to take it to the market, and there's going to be no fear. That's the first descriptor of the individual. The second descriptor, which is going to be strong, it's a strong tendency, is the relationship between the I and the S style. This person is going to be emotional. That's the descriptor for the I style. And they're also going to be steady. And what that means is that they'll be really emotional, really enthusiastic what they do. And that's going to be a steady approach. You're going to see that over and over and over again. They're just going to be enthusiastic. They're going to be emotional. And every time you see them, they're going to repeat that over and over again. It becomes a predictable part of their personality. Thirdly, this person will also be enthusiastic and assertive. So when you have a look at the relationship between the I factor and the D factor, the descriptive words include enthusiastic and assertive. This person's going to be very passionate about what they do. It's like a bottle of champagne that's been shaken up and it's about to explode. They're so enthusiastic and they're going to be very assertive. So this person, when dealing with people, they're going to work with them, they're going to be enthusiastic, and when it comes to getting results, they're going to be very assertive. They will tell people what to do. They won't wait to give feedback, they'll do it in the moment. They're very assertive. These are some great leadership qualities that you can see in this individual. We also have the D and C style. The D style is the red bar here, and then we're relating it back to the C style. Now, this is a strong tendency. So what you're going to find here is that when it comes to getting results and when it comes to following rules, this person is going to be competitive. They're going to go hard for the results. They're going to look at others. Who's my competition? Who's coming first? Who's coming third? Where do I sit? And they're also going to be defiant. So it doesn't mean they're going to win all the time. It doesn't mean they're going to fail all the time. But what's going to be happening here is they're going to be defiant. No obstacle gets in their way. No rule gets in their way. No procedure is going to hold them back. This person will know exactly where they're going. They know who they're fighting against. They're going to win the battle. They're going to win the war. And this is going to be really strong in this individual's persona. You'll see it in their behaviors. Now, when it comes to assertive and steady, then this is not going to be a strong descriptor here. These words, as we said before, are a weak tendency, and the verbiage won't be all that accurate. So we're going to overlook that, and that's not going to be a great descriptor for the individual. So if somebody said, is this person both assertive and steady? The answer would be no. It's not a good descriptor. However, when we go down to the SC style, we're going to see stable and fearless. Now that's going to have a strong tendency. That verbiage, that descriptor is going to be accurate for this individual. They're going to be stable and they're going to be fearless. They're not afraid of getting out of the comfort zone. They won't go back to the comfort zone. They'll live outside of the comfort zone. Although they're very stable, they're also fearless. So these people don't tend to be held back by things like the fear of losing their stability, the fear of losing their income. They're going to take risks and they're going to do it over and over again. It's not a one-time risk. It's something that they're willing to over and over again. Isn't that incredible? Isn't that just the most amazing way to have a look at how their disc factors relate to one another? And you can start to predict their behaviors. If this person was applying for a job in a business, you would understand the relationship between each factors, how this person will do what they do. How do they approach problems and challenges, people and contacts, pace and consistency, procedures and constraints. You can predict this. You can predict people's behaviors, and you can do it for both their natural and you can do it for their adapted style. Because what we know here, when you look at the natural style on the right and the adapted style on the left, they're going to do two totally different things. So with this person, you can't apply the rule. What you see is what you get. When you meet them and they're in their natural style, they're going to be a totally different person when you meet them, when they're operating from their adapted style. And this is important, especially in team selection. Who are you getting on your team? What are they going to give you? When are they going to give it to you? You can predict this for people. Then you can go back to a business owner and say, this team member, this is how their factors relate. This is what you're going to see in their natural style. This is what you're going to see at work. Which one are you looking for? Which one are you not looking for? So let's review this. This is all about factor relationships. It's about how each of the disc styles relate to one another. And remember, there's 3 tendencies: strong, medium, and weak. Strong tendencies are scores 20 or above, where the verbiage is going to be highly accurate. Those descriptive words are going to be highly accurate. Those combinations of words are going to be highly accurate. If there's a moderate tendency, scores between 10 and 19, then there's going to be a moderate tendency towards the behavior. It's not going to stand out, but it will be there. Thirdly, there's the weak tendency. That's if the score is below 9. Now, these descriptors won't be accurate and they're really too close to call. So what are we going to do? There's going to be 4 things. First of all, we're going to discover their core style. Which of the disc styles has the highest score? Secondly, you're going to have a look at the relationship factor. And once again, you're having a look at their highest score in relation to the lowest score, in relationship to the second lowest score, in relationship to the third lowest score. And then you're going to have a look at the second highest score, which is the D, in relationship to the lowest score, which is the C, the D in relationship to the S, and then the S in relation to the C. Now remember, that's going to constantly change. So this example here is true for this person. But if you're working with a high D and a low I, then those factor relationships are going to change and you're just going to have to be fluent as you go through. So remember, this is just one example. It will constantly change. So once we've had a look at the factor relationships, we want to calculate the spread. Now to calculate the spread was quite simple. You take the highest score and you minus the lowest score. So for example, we have the high I, 98, and then we'll minus 16, and that's going to give us our spread of 82. We'll then have a look at the I in relationship to the S. When you take 98 and you minus 52, the gap is 46. Then you'll take the I score, 98, and you'll minus 62 for the D style, which will give you a gap of 36, so on and so forth, and you'll have a look at the spread. Once you do your spread, you'll have a look at the tendency. Is it strong, moderate, or weak? And then what you can do is you can go to the word sketch that comes along with your client's report. You can choose 2 of the descriptive words for each of the factors, whichever you think are the best ones. It's totally up to you. Your call as the coach. And then you're going to create a unique combination of words. So for me, I chose assertive and competitive. And once again, you can see that here on the left-hand side. I then chose for the I style, emotional, enthusiastic. You can see that they relate to the yellow box. I then chose stable and steady for the S style. You can see it relates to the report here. And then for the C style, what I chose was fearless and defiant, and you can see it relates to their C style. So I chose those as I look at the client. You can choose depending on your observation. And then I want to make some word combinations. I C, enthusiastic and fearless. IS, emotional and steady. ID, enthusiastic and assertive. DC, competitive and defiant. And I already know that there's going to be a strong tendency. And those words, that verbiage is going to be highly accurate, leading possibly even to the absolute truth. We saw with the DS style here, there was a weak tendency. So the verbiage probably won't be all that accurate and it'll be too close to call. And then we'll have a look at the SC style, and we said this is strong. So the descriptive words here, stable and fearless. Now, by doing this, you're going to have a totally different point of view on your client. You're going to understand the strong, moderate, and weak tendencies. You're going to understand how each of the disc factors relate, and you're going to be able to predict people's behaviors. Isn't that exciting? Now, you've learned about the factor relationships. You've learned about the core styles, the relationships, the spread, the tendencies, and how to create these unique keywords. Your job now is to go out and practice this 10 times. Do it 10 times. And what will happen as you sit there and you have the discipline to do this, going through the 4 steps, looking at the 4 style, having a look at the factor relationships, calculating the spread, having a look at their tendencies, coming up with those keywords, you'll start to master it really quick. So allow yourself 10 opportunities to learn before you decide if it's too hard or if it's not for you. Go out and do what successful people do. Do it 10 times and then start to play with your clients. Get them to pay you to learn. Okay. Leave a comment below. What did you learn? Tell me, what did you learn? And I look forward to seeing you soon. Have a wonderful day.